Right, morning everybody. I hope the board is all in there. I'll move it down a bit later if it's not for any reason. Today we're doing advanced phrasal verbs and idioms once again. So I'm using a book for most of these, all of this vocabulary. It comes from Advanced Idioms and Phrasal Verbs, the book. I can't remember the two authors, but if you look it up, you'll find this book. It's available on Amazon, certainly. But I always say that I do actually have a phrasal verbs book. So if anybody's wondering which book I recommend for phrasal verbs, I do, of course, recommend my book for phrasal verbs. You can buy it on Amazon, or you can buy it on my website in PDF form, colour, for £20, or you can buy black and white for £20 from Amazon, or colour for £35. So that one's just called Visual Phrasal Verbs, by the way. My book's called Visual Phrasal Verbs. There are lots of pictures inside, and that's why it's called Visual Phrasal Verbs. Now, we're looking at phrasal verbs being used as nouns and adjectives today. There are quite a lot of phrasal verbs that are changed into a noun. For example, you can put someone down, but you can also say a put down, an insult. And we looked at that in the last class, so please watch classes 1 and 2 if you're interested in phrasal verbs and idioms. But today it really is phrasal verbs being used as nouns. So we've got a bystander, a passerby, an onlooker. Now all three of these are quite similar. A bystander is somebody who's just standing there when something happens. So a bystander is literally just a person on the street standing there. An onlooker is quite close to a bystander, but not only is this person just standing there, they're also looking at whatever happened. So an onlooker is very often a witness. If there's a crime or something like that took place, any onlookers will be witnesses to the crime. And a passerby, and by the way, to make this one plural, you add the S here, passers-by, several passers-by, yeah? Add the S here and not after the by. 10 passers-by, and you've got a hyphen in the middle. But a passerby is just somebody walking past at that time. And so these are all compound nouns in a way. They're made from the phrasal verbs, obviously to look on, to stand by, and to pass by. But to stand by is not exactly the same as a bystander, so do be careful, because sometimes there's a slight difference in meaning between the verb and the noun. To stand by means to be waiting and expecting something to happen. So you might be standing by, if you're working in the military, perhaps you expect some kind of operation to happen soon, but it won't start until, I'm not sure, and maybe until the enemy attacks. When the enemy attacks, then you have to start fighting or something like this. Then you are standing by and waiting for the enemy to attack. So stand by is a little bit different from bystander. Now, some of them are very similar to the phrasal verbs from which they come from. So a breakout. A breakout means an escape from prison, usually from prison, because you break out of prison. So a breakout is an escape. But please don't mix it up with an outbreak. Where is an outbreak? Here it is, down here. Don't mix it up with an outbreak. Now, an outbreak is connected to an outbreak of an epidemic, or an outbreak of war, or an outbreak of disease, or you could even have an outbreak. You can certainly have an outbreak of violence, of conflict. But we would always say conflict breaks out, fire breaks out. I don't think I'm saying this wrong. War, conflict and fire break out. Yeah, war, conflict and fire break out. Disease breaks out. So an outbreak of a disease, okay? An outbreak of a disease, we say. So this is different from an escape, even though they're both formed from the same phrasal verb. And this is because you can break out of prison, but you can also say fire breaks out, conflict breaks out, war, violence breaks out on the border. Okay, a getaway is also an escape, but this would be when you escape from a crime, something like that, not when you escape from prison. A breakout for when you escape from a prison, and a getaway when you manage to run away from someone chasing you. That's really a getaway. So maybe you are a robber and you hold up a bank, and then you have a getaway car waiting for you. That's the adjective, a getaway car. But that getaway car is there to help you with your getaway. Yeah, so you could use this one as an adjective too. Okay, a climb down, I'm going to have to speed up because I've got lessons very soon. But a climb down is a reversal of your position. Perhaps you are working for the government, and firstly you're in favour of increasing taxes, but there's such a backlash from the public. Perhaps the public really hate this idea about raising taxes, and so you have to climb down from your position. So this one is a verb as well, and when you climb down from your position, you say, okay, I was wrong. You admit, you take back what you said, you admit, you retract your words, and you admit that your previous position was wrong. So a climb down is when you reverse your position and accept that what you previously believed in or what you previously supported was wrong. Okay, a cover up, I think a lot of people know this one. If you cover something up, then you actively try to deceive the public about what really happened. And so conspiracy theory is really the area we're talking about here. If the government tries to cover something up, they try to hide the truth about it. And a cover-up is usually a conspiracy. And I think we all know that these do happen sometimes. I think that conspiracy is one of those strange words that's now become synonymous with fake, even though we all know that they do happen sometimes. So a cover-up is some kind of conspiracy that's swept under the rug. We often talk about that as well when something's hidden. Some kind of truth is hidden because the people responsible don't want the truth to get out, yeah, to spread, to get out. Okay, the intake. This is quite a difficult word here, the intake, because it could be the intake of breath. Yeah, you can hush something up as well. There are a number of other ones like cover something up, hush something up. The intake could be the intake of breath, because when you breathe in, you take in air. And so do remember that take something in really does mean absorb as well when you take something in. You can even use this metaphorically to take in new information. But the intake very often is the rate of people that join an organisation. Like a school can talk about its intake, and it means the number of new students, yeah, that come to the school. But you could also talk about the intake of nutrients in the body, in the blood especially, because the blood absorbs these nutrients. So you can talk about the intake of vitamins or minerals or nutrients by the body as well. So it has a few different meanings, this one. It's quite a tricky one. The summing up means the conclusion, yeah? The summing up of the judge, it would mean the final verdict of the judge and perhaps the punishment that he hands out or hands down to the criminal. And so the summing up is the verdict if it's in a court, but summing up literally means, you know, to sum up. It's from the verb to sum something up, so to conclude. An outbreak of fire, an outbreak of war, an outbreak of disease, yeah? So that's because we say that fire breaks out, war breaks out, and disease breaks out. And backup is support, because to back something up is to support, to back someone up is to support someone. So you can make a backup on your hard drive of all of your necessary information, all of your documents and files that you don't want to lose. If you make a backup, that means you have a second copy, just in case the first copy disappears or breaks, something like that. So it's always good to make a backup or to back up old work. So that's one way that a backup is used. When you make a second version of all of your, when you save a second version of all of your documents, you make a backup. But if somebody is a backup, that means they are a supporter. Perhaps you need backup. Perhaps you're going to have a big fight out on the street, a big street fight. And so you phone a few friends who will be your backup. Yeah, they will offer support just in case you need some more people to join your team. Okay, so there are nouns. Now let's look at some adjectives. Throwaway society. This is really a consumer society. It's a society that throws away all of its rubbish. and where they generate a lot of waste. That's the idea. This sounds quite negative to me. It sounds like a society that generates a lot of waste, okay? And so, of course, we live in a consumer society. We do generate a lot of waste. And what we usually do in this country is send it off to another country abroad and leave them to bury it in their country. And we think that we're being very environmentally friendly by doing so. We've also got knockout competition. This would be any competition where you knock teams out. So in football, it's usually one of those competitions where if you lose, you're out of the competition. You're knocked out. Okay, that would be a knockout competition. A breakaway republic would be a small area of land which is politically breaking away from a larger area. So there are several breakaway republics around the world that are considered breakaway republics. And it just means that they're trying to break away from their parent country. Sorry about that, I'm running out of power as well, so I'm going to have to speed up. So a breakaway republic is any republic wants to split apart from, to break away from the parent country. You might call the UK a breakaway republic at the moment because we're trying to break away from the EU, and so in that sense perhaps we're a breakaway republic. Okay, an outspoken critic is any critic that will voice their opinion loudly. And, you know, they don't care that their opinion isn't wanted or people don't appreciate their opinion. Still, they would be called an outspoken critic because they're making sure that everybody hears their opinion. Off-putting behaviour is really distracting behaviour. Remember that to put someone off can mean to distract them. And so off-putting behaviour could mean distracting behaviour, or it could mean behaviour that makes you think less of somebody or less of something, to have a worse opinion of someone. Because when you say the smell of that smell puts me off my dinner, that means it makes you dislike your dinner. And so if somebody's behaviour is putting you off, it's making you it's not likeable behaviour. So this one's certainly negative if it means not likeable, but it can just mean distracting. Could mean distracting behaviour, or it could mean behaviour that that's not likeable, that's not pleasant. Ongoing recovery means a recovery which is still in process. If anything is ongoing, it's still in process, because to go on means to carry on, it means to continue. And so ongoing recovery would be any kind of recovery which is still in the process. Watered down exams means exams made very easy. Because to water something down is to dilute it, literally. If you water down whiskey, you dilute it. And if you water down the content of an exam, that would mean that you make the exams easier, okay? If I watered down the content of my videos, that would mean I put less content in the videos and perhaps worry more about how nice the picture is, how nice the sound is, how nice the colour of the walls are. And I think that would involve me watering down the content, and all I want to do is just teach new vocab and new grammar. Leftover funds. Leftover means remaining. That's all it means. It means remaining. So leftover funds are remaining funds. And it's because if you leave something, if something is left over after you've spent some money, that's leftover money, remaining money that you can spend. So this is good. If you've got some leftover funds, it means you've got some money remaining. That's all it means. And do remember outstanding as a word that also means remaining. It can mean fantastic, but it can also mean remaining. So you could talk about outstanding debts, certainly, debts that still remain and need to be paid. Okay, worn out mums. This just means tired, exhausted mums. Yeah, to get worn out means to get exhausted, to get tired. And so if you say, I don't know, walking to the seafront and back really wore me out yesterday. It didn't. I did walk there and back, but it didn't wear me out. But that would mean it exhausts me. It tires me out. You can also say tires me out. Now we've got some idioms. If you love the sound of your own voice, it's very negative, this one. It means that you do like talking and you enjoy how you sound when you talk. So it sounds quite arrogant, this one, quite big-headed. It sounds like you rate yourself and that you think that you're someone quite wonderful. So it's quite narcissistic, I suppose, quite vain to love the sound of your own voice. If you don't suffer fools gladly, that means you don't put up with idiots. You don't tolerate idiots. You don't tolerate idiocy. So this could be quite negative because it is a very intolerant person who doesn't suffer fools gladly. But it does mean, yeah, someone who doesn't put up with stupid comments or immediately tells someone if they said something idiotic, they're not a soft person, they're a tough person. You might say they're as tough as old boots. And this just means really strong, tough. Usually you'd use this for someone older rather than someone younger. And it's there in the expression as tough as old boots. So it's a very tough, strict, old person that you'd usually describe as tough as old boots. Not sensitive at all. Very hard-skinned, you could say, meaning you can't upset this person. They're not emotional, they're not sensitive. Okay, on the surface means it's the opposite of deep down. If somebody is a nice person deep down, but on the surface they can seem quite angry, that just means that when you first get to meet them, they seem quite angry. But as you get to know them more and more, you find out that deep down they are a nice person. And just on the surface, they seem angry. So use these two expressions to say how somebody seems and how somebody really is. Okay? Yeah, in his heart of hearts, it is similar, but in your heart of hearts is normally used for your intentions. I don't think it's normally used for your emotions. To be under someone's thumb means to be totally under their control. And we very often use this for men and women in relationships. If you are under your wife's thumb, that means that she's in charge. It means that she wears the trousers. You can also say that. She wears the trousers. It means she's in charge of the two of you. But if she is under your thumb, then you are in charge, and she will often submit to your requests or your wishes or your desires. So to be under someone's thumb, a very useful idiom for the politics of relationships. Now, if you are as mad as a hatter, or you are barking mad, or you are stark raving mad, this means you're really crazy. It's just an expression to say that somebody has lost their mind, that they're totally crazy. They've lost their mind, yeah? No. We can't use heel instead of thumb, you've got to use thumb. Yeah, to be off your rocker is another one to be as mad as a hatter. To be off your rocker. To be a lunatic, to be crazy. And last one down here, to be thick as two short planks means to be really stupid, to be a real idiot. And so it's quite a rude one, this, in the sense that if you say it to someone, you wouldn't expect them to be grateful that you've said this. You are calling them an idiot when you say you're as thick as two short planks, or even quicker, as thick as a plank. But we do often say as thick as two short planks. Okay, I'm going to have to stop there. We'll be doing more phrasal verbs and idioms very, very soon. I'll take them from the same book, and so if you look for that book on Amazon, you'll find it. But please look for my book first. This is the visual phrasal verbs book that you can buy on my website, which is there, skype-lessons.com, £20 for PDF. Or you can buy it on Amazon if you're old-fashioned like me and you do enjoy a nice paper book. Okay, thanks everybody for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you